Coming up next on the Holistic Wealth Podcast.
Whenever you feel stressed or panicked or anxious, just channel that deep breathing, because during traumatic circumstances, our minds tend to race and our breathing becomes shallow. The more shallow our breathing becomes, the more the anxiety we feel, and then our minds start to race. So to break that loop, practice slow, deep breathing.
You're listening to the Holistic Wealth Podcast with host Keisha Blair, author of Holistic Wealth and founder of the Institute on Holistic Wealth. And now, here's your host, Keisha Blair.
Today we have another special episode. We have a solo episode on finding inner strength during stressful times. And I think it's so topical to start the year off with that, because so many people are going through different periods of trauma and stress. So I think we all can benefit from this episode today. And I'm so happy to be with you one more week again on the Holistic Wealth Podcast. And before I go on, I'd just like to acknowledge our sponsors, the Institute on Holistic Wealth, and you can check out the website at www.instituteonholisticwealth.com for a range of resources, courses, services, and a membership platform, of course, that can help you live that holistically wealthy lifestyle. I just wanted to start off today, talking about something very recent for me on my personal journey. So many of you don't know that I'm really recovering from a major surgery just done just recently. And it's taken a toll for sure. And it's kind of the inspiration for today's episode as well, as I found myself having to rest and recover from major surgery. And I've also been thinking about inner strength during this time. And I've had to go back to the Holistic Wealth book and the Holistic Wealth framework myself, which has been like a constant companion for me. I mean, today's episode isn't easy, but I just wanted so much to be with you all today to share again another episode. And we all have those times. We all have those times where we have to summon that inner strength and to really exercise those resilience muscles. And so I just want to give some tips for those times where you're feeling stressed or you're going through a traumatic period and you really need to summon that inner strength. You really need to call on those inner resources to get you through that time. And the first tip that I'm going to go through today is to treat yourself with lots of love and lots of compassion. I think once we're going through stressful times, summoning that compassion, that self-love, self-care is essential, because that's the first step, right? That compassion, that love for ourselves, that's the first step towards healing. And it's amazing how, we often hear about silencing the inner critic. Well, that's also a big part of it, because it's so easy, even when you're down in the dumps, it's so easy to feel guilty about not being able to do certain things or undertake certain activities or take care of loved ones among us. So silencing that inner critic is key. And I talk about that in the book as well, in Holistic Wealth, about strategies for silencing the inner critic and for flipping that script in our heads, that negative messaging, and turn it into something positive. So it's good to counteract that messaging. And I can give you some examples, but basically we should be looking at compassionate and encouraging words. So instead of feeling or saying to yourself, wow, I'm feeling so weak, I can't do the things that I used to do, say to yourself, it's okay. It's okay if I can't do the things I used to do right now. It's okay to feel this way. I'm doing the best I can. In terms of, your loved ones, your love doesn't change. You love them no matter what, even if you can't do for them what you would want to do in this moment. You're there for them, right? So speak to yourself the way you would speak to a child. in that situation with that same amount of love and care and that same amount of choosing those words wisely, because we have to choose the words wisely that we say to ourselves. So channeling that inner child and speaking to that inner child who's now vulnerable, who now needs to heal, who now needs compassion and help is one of the first steps. And of course, the Holistic Wealth Personal Workbook is also great for this exercise as you're sitting down and you're just looking at, your values and looking at anything going forward like goals or silencing the inner critic. Number 2, be authentic with those feelings. Be authentic with your feelings. If you're not feeling great today, say it. There's no harm in saying that, you know what, I'm feeling a bit down today. Verbalize it, getting out. One of the last things that we want to do is repress our emotions because it's one of the causes of long-term suffering. So it's important not to keep re-experiencing or re-traumatizing ourselves, which is something that I teach in the Trauma of Money certification program. But it's not good either to completely repress or suppress because it tends to build up in our system and then it has physical, emotional, mental health repercussions. So it's a conscious and intentional process, right, of basically being in touch with our feelings. And, there's a quote that says you have to feel it to heal it. Well, it's good to also get those out. So whether it's journaling, some other type of therapy, working out, taking walks in nature, that also helps. I want to also talk about deep breathing. So that's another thing, another strategy, another tool in our toolbox to summon inner strength. Now, when I was in the hospital just recently, after major surgery, I was coming out of the anesthesia and the nurse said to me, Keisha, in order to heal faster, you're going to have to breathe really deeply. She said to me, your breath is just too shallow right now. You're breathing from your chest up. You're breathing from your chest to your shoulders, to your neck, out. She said, really channel your abdominal muscles. Breathe from your abdomen up. And when you see that, you should feel your navel, all of that coming like a swell that goes all the way up. And she said to me, that deep breathing is hugely healing because you're getting the anesthesia out of your system and replacing it with fresh air. And I had to get the anesthesia out of I had so much in my system. I had morphine injected into my spine before going on general anesthesia, where I was intubated, placed on a ventilator to breathe. So you can imagine all my organs were basically paralyzed. My muscles were paralyzed. And when I came out of surgery, it was almost like my body was an engine that needed revving up again to start up. Everything needed to start up again. My stomach, everything needed to start up again. And she said that deep breathing is what gets that engine revved up. And I thought I was breathing deeply. I was breathing from my chest out. And she was like, no, you need to breathe from your belly button, And it really, as I started to breathe, there was a transformation. There was a huge transformation. And it felt like that's when my healing started. And so I'm communicating that to you so that, whatever you're going through right now, that you can practice that deep breathing and do it on a daily basis. Whenever you feel stressed or panicked or anxious, just channel that deep breathing. Because during traumatic circumstances, our minds tend to race and our breathing becomes shallow. The more shallow our breathing becomes, the more the anxiety we feel, and then our minds start to race. So to break that loop, practice slow, deep breathing. Deep breathing is so helpful. It's so helpful, and it sends a signal to the brain to calm down. So if you're struggling to breathe deeply, try noticing, taking your breaths in and out, and mindfulness helps us to focus on each one and being in the present. So feel the sensations in your body and focus on it. And really think about positive things while you breathe deep in and out. And then slowly you'll feel the tension and the anxiety start to slow and to break down. And it's so, so, so important. The other thing in terms of channeling inner strength is rest, pause, and relaxation. You know, so often we confuse strength with go, 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 with producing more and more and more. And that's not necessarily it. I think there's a time and place for everything. And if we're going through this, it means slowing down. It means slowing down because we don't want to add to the stress of this situation. I spoke about that in Holistic Wealth, about when I took that 1 year sabbatical and I had to slow down and I practiced meditation and mindfulness, spending time in nature. All of that helps. Well, it's good to rest, relax, and pause. And, you know, when I spoke about relationships, that's also critical because you want to have people encouraging you to do that, not to do the opposite. You don't want to feel stress and pressure, right? To hurry up, and to hurry up the pace of your healing, or to speed up the pace of what you need to do to get back because you need this time. And so another tip is letting go of negative thoughts, letting go of those negative thoughts. We spoke about silencing the inner critic. But once we have that time to really go through, to rest, then we start to self-assess. It's natural, right? You have more time and, space on your hands, and then you start thinking, you start judging. And that's one of the things that mindfulness is not. Mindfulness is not about judging. It's about feeling the present moment, being in the present moment and not worrying about the past, worrying about the future and thinking about what should have been done. It's firmly placing ourselves into the moment. So try controlling negative thoughts and negative beliefs and anything that comes with the trauma that is negative, and really watching those symptoms. Those symptoms of numbness that come with trauma, those symptoms of disassociation, hypervigilance, the worry, the other physical symptoms like a nervous stomach and feeling knots there and anxious and hyperventilating. Those are the symptoms that we want to minimize. And the negative thoughts, and, in the book, I refer to these as dry bones. There's a whole chapter on dealing with the dry bones. We want to minimize them as much as possible to get rid of them. So really face up to those and try as much as possible to get rid of those. So learning how to access your inner strength is also about teaching yourself to become aware of these intrusive thoughts and to realize that if you dwell on them, if you put them into practice, then they're going to become a part. They're going to be a part of your identity that you carry forward. So practicing self-awareness, practicing self-inquiry is an amazing thing. And I spoke about spiritual self-renewal in Holistic Wealth as well, and doing that inventory of our thoughts, that dry bones inventory. How much dry bones am I hanging on to? How many negative thoughts am I hanging on to? And that's a critical exercise for summoning your inner strength. And another exercise that's critical is channeling the Holistic Wealth mindset that I talk so much about in the book and in the Holistic Wealth personal workbook, because it's been, for me, a lifeline in terms of thinking through periods where we feel weak and we feel vulnerable, and remembering that those times are just temporary. They're not permanent. That I will get through this, that there's better ahead, there's hope. And those are just a few aspects of the Holistic Wealth mindset. And you can go through again and look through the full list and look through everything just to help you through this period. Another good thing that helps during this period is remembering a past situation where you've come through, where you were able to get past it and you soared and you left that behind and you didn't go under, right? And so it's great to know that we've already conquered before. It's great to know that you can do it again. So if you're struggling to summon that inner strength, this also gives you motivation to go on. Just recalling that situation that in the past, whether it was a past divorce or a past separation or a past relationship, and you were able to thrive and survive, and you were able to make it through. Same thing for this tough situation. And in life, we face so many different situations that are tough and that really call upon us to channel those inner resources. The other thing that I would also, other piece of advice is to just those relationships that fill our holistic wealth bank account, right? That fill us up, that make us feel more emotionally healthy, that make us feel more resilient. Lean on those relationships and allow those people to fill you up and help to fill up your inner resources and your inner strength. And I talk about relationships a lot too in holistic wealth, and they're so key when we're going through these periods. And as I said, keep in mind that everything is temporary, but it's always good to connect back. For inner healing, we have to connect back with our inner selves and really channel our innermost desires and to live intentionally as much as we can. Now, I want to say before I go today, and I hope that was helpful for everybody who's facing a tough situation, because I know with COVID-19, we now have a loneliness epidemic. Mental health issues are through the roof. And I know lots of people are struggling. On April 9th this year, as we do every year, we're also celebrating Global Holistic Wealth Day. And if you're in an organization, you can just reach out to us to partner with us to celebrate April 9th as Global Holistic Wealth Day. It's a worldwide celebration. So no matter where you are in the world, we can all celebrate on that day. The Global Holistic Wealth Day page on the Institute on Holistic Wealth also has a partner form that you can fill out to become a partner, an official partner of Global Holistic Wealth Day. And you can fill that out and we'll represent your organization's logo there so everybody knows who our official partners are. And there's also a separate form to become an official sponsor of Global Holistic Wealth Day. And so we'd love to have more sponsors on board, more partners on board, so we can make this bigger and better every year, really go out into communities to have holistically wealthy communities, holistically wealthy cities, and holistically wealthy organizations. And so we'd love if you partner with us on that. So just visit the Institute on Holistic Wealth's website, go to Global Holistic Wealth Day and sign up to become an official partner or an official sponsor. And let's get this out. Every year on April 9th, we'll celebrate. And no matter which pillar of holistic wealth appeals to you most, it doesn't matter whether it's physical health, whether it's mental health, whether it's financial well-being, spiritual health, relationships, whether it's women's economic security or gender inequality or Black maternal health. Holistic wealth represents all of that. So go on the website, become a partner, become a sponsor, and let's celebrate that day together in the way that's most meaningful for you. And it's unbelievable how we can also celebrate in loving memory of someone in our lives who was there to build us up. I know I'm doing this in loving memory of my husband that died and to carry on that legacy. So go on that website, partner with us, fill out that form, and we'll get your organization's logo up there as soon as we can. And if you want to become a sponsor, that's even better, because then we can reach more people throughout the year and actually develop resources to actually help kids and teens, to help adults, with whatever circumstances they're facing, and to build up this holistic wealth message in our communities and in our cities and in our countries across the world. So it was amazing being with you today. Have a great week, everyone. Lots of love to you all. And thank you once again for joining on this episode of the Holistic Wealth Podcast.
The Holistic Wealth Podcast with Keisha Blair is brought to you by...
Have you joined the Institute on Holistic Wealth? If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Choose your membership plan at the Institute on Holistic Wealth/memberships to join. As a member, you'll get access to free worksheets, advice, coaching, and an intentional design workshop. As you start to live a more holistically wealthy lifestyle, you'll want to stay for a very long time. So go to Institute on Holistic Wealth/memberships to join. If you haven't read the book yet, pick up a copy of the award-winning best-selling Holistic Wealth 36 Life Lessons to help you recover from disruption, find your life purpose, and achieve financial freedom.